Hi, this is Amoroso from TAG, and I've got kind of a serious discussion here. I want to talk to you about nation state cyber attacks, something I've spent decades of my life kind of interacting in and around. I've always been involved in critical infrastructures, so this has been part of my life. And I want to share with you some things that I'm a little nervous about in terms of kind of pending cyber attacks, cyber offensives that I think the US is probably going to be forced to start doing. Let me take you back and we'll think a little bit about the options that any nation, but in particular the US, has around conflict with other countries. Number one is there's conventional military. Now, I grew up around that. My dad was 35 years in the Army. I grew up around Fort Monmouth. I have great respect for our military. But look, conventional military has its challenges. Boots on the ground, not real popular. In fact, during my lifetime, the time I've been alive, we've had kind of uneven results in conventional warfare. Look at Vietnam, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, and now Ukraine. These are uneven kind of conflicts, and I often wonder whether the next big conflict will be best met with conventional warfare. I have a feeling it probably won't be. So let's go on to the second option, and that's economic attacks like tariffs and sanctions and things like that. These have always been considered very practical, very doable. Citizenry usually like them because you're not putting guns in anybody's hands. You're doing these economic things. I think the era of the US being able to do this with great influence is waning. Look, if you're an American, you know darn well that this BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Indonesia, these countries, they've put together an alliance to dance around the tariffs and the sanctions that we've been putting on a lot of these countries. Collectively, they have more population, they have a bigger GDP, they have a lot of power. So I worry that sanctions don't have the same military bite that they did in the past. So let's put that to the side. Nuclear, I'm not even going to talk to you about. That's not an option for obvious reasons. This brings me to my area of expertise, the thing that I want to talk to you about, and that's cyber. We have in the US, and if you look at some of the G7 countries like the UK and others, they're really good too. They have this cyber offensive capability that's, I believe, is unmatched. You can argue China, Russia are good, but I think here in the US Cyber Command's as good as it comes. There's so many advantages, I believe, from a government perspective to do cyber. We'll talk about the disadvantage in a minute, but it's not, no boots on the ground. It's lethal. We're best in class. You can do it stealth. You can do it targeted. There's this Tom Cruise movie I remember where he's flying this thing around and he drops a bomb on some big target. And I'm thinking, you know, that's what Stuxnet was. You don't need a plane. You can do it from cyber. So I believe that we're entering an era where cyber attacks, cyber offensive, are not going to be the afterthought, but they're going to be the primary means by which conflicts are dealt with. Now, here's what this means. The blowback is not going to be to the military. You've got to understand that the blowback comes back to business, to citizenry, to society, to families, to individuals, to you. You are the front in an electronic battlefield. You're the front. There's no, it's not like the military controls this front, you're back home safe. Forget all that. This is a new era we're entering where cyber offensive is going to be the primary means. I don't see conventional military. I don't see economic attacks, and I definitely don't see nuclear as being reasonable options. It's going to be cyber. So if you're a large business, if you're a service provider, if you're an infrastructure provider, it's your responsibility to be focused on this because small business, citizens, family, there's a lot of bullshit out there about, oh, you know, pick good passwords and back your stuff up. Give me a break. Trying to stop a cyber attack from a nation state that's good with all that stuff is like trying to stop a bullet with cheesecloth. You can't do it. They're going to need help. So if you're an infrastructure provider watching me right now, then this is my warning to you. The next era will be an era where nation-state conflict is going to involve you. You have a responsibility, Microsoft. You have a responsibility, Google. You have a responsibility, AT&T. You have a responsibility, Akamai. You have a responsibility, Cisco. These are companies that provide our infrastructure, and we're only going to be able to stop or maybe at best slow down these attacks if those companies are at the top of their game. So I hope if you're listening to me and you work in that infrastructure, call a meeting with your team, have them watch this video and listen and make a list, make an action plan for how you can be more prepared. Because like I said, telling citizens and small businesses to back their stuff up, give me a break. That is just not going to make any difference. They might as well not even bother. It's going to have to be the infrastructure providers that deal with this. So again, I hope you'll share this video and give it some thought. I'm sharing this kind of at the end of 2025 as we enter the fourth quarter. Who knows when this is going to be a real part of our life, but I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. So I hope you'll give this some thought. Again, I hope that you'll make sure that you like and subscribe to our video. We want to hear from you, and I'll look forward to chatting you on the next one.